I'm Koby Hastings, and you're listening to A Shark's Perspective.
Welcome back, and thank you for joining A Shark's Perspective. I am Kenneth Kinney, but friends call me Shark. I am a keynote speaker, a strategist, a shark diver, host of this show, and your chief shark officer. You're busy trying to grow your business and to solve problems for your customers. It's a hectic pace to raise money and make sure your people are performing well, all while innovating and keeping up with the competition. But put it all together, and with the right mindset and pivots, you can grow and build and grow and build. Then how should a captain, if you will, navigate that river on an entrepreneur's journey? We welcome a super nice guy. Koby Hastings is the founder and CEO of both SalesRiver and Leadrilla, a Kentucky Entrepreneur Hall of Fame awardee, and the best description comes from something he wrote. He's a husband, father, entrepreneur, and just a dude from Kentucky with a passion for making inefficient things efficient. And on this episode, we will discuss an entrepreneur's journey, lead generation and improvements for real estate agents, building multiple businesses and knowing when to pivot to new ventures, creating categories, what ride sharing is before we knew what it was, the Kentucky technology scene and its Hall of Fame, the startup roller coaster, raising money, fried chicken, paying for a truck by coding JavaScript and PHP, Cardinals and Wildcats, sharks and lakes, and a lot more. So let's tune into a Hall of Fame entrepreneur with a Hall of Fame shark on this episode of A Shark's Perspective. Koby, welcome to A Shark's Perspective. If you would, tell us a little bit about your background and your career to date.
Yeah, thanks for having me. So I'm Koby Hastings. I'm the founder and CEO of SalesRiver. We've been around for about 5 years. I'll kind of step back and talk about me a little bit. Born and raised in Louisville, Kentucky. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 15 years old in high school. Learned how to write code and fell in love with it. I wanted a truck, so I realized, hey, I like writing code, so why not try to make money doing this? So I started my first business as a junior in high school. Door knocked small businesses in Louisville, had my brothers drive me around, and landed some deals and built websites for a couple $100, probably made, I don't know, 50 cents an hour when it was all said and done. But I've just been an entrepreneur since then. Being able to write code kind of gives you a freedom of being able to do anything you want and be able to attack any problem and be creative about it. And so I've done that for 15 years now. I'm 30. And so, yeah, I've had several failed businesses over those years. I've worked at well-funded startups in various industries. And I've had this business we're working on now. Started it in 2018.
So it's such an important lesson to kids today. If they want a truck, they just got to learn to code. That's the
Right.
new, that's the new
it.
Kentucky. That's not a sentence we would have ever said 20 years ago. What languages were you primarily coding in?
So actually started as a designer. And so like designing business cards and flyers for these businesses. And then as I learned to code, I learned, HTML, CSS, pretty entry level languages, and then started getting into JavaScript to kind of start doing more dynamic things and getting into databases. And my whole career, I don't write much code anymore, but my whole development career was pretty much full stack JavaScript, some PHP.
Let's talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. One of the questions in particular I think I have is, I knew you through the lead acquisition space, through those kind of conferences, LeadsCon, Lead Generation World, through communication with Leads Council, back when it was Leads Council and the industry impact shows. But you started Leadrilla as a customer acquisition platform for insurance and then moved towards SalesRiver. Talk about that journey and what made you undertake that change.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess I'll start kind of when Leadrilla was born. And so prior to Leadrilla, for about 3 years, I had a blockchain consulting firm. So we had about 6 engineers. We built software for several large banks and corporates around the world. We had clients in Europe, Asia, the US. We did stuff with Microsoft and Oracle. And so we had a really good business, kept the lights on, paid our team well. And it wasn't that fulfilling for me. Like, it wasn't a product that we owned, and like, it wasn't really changing the world. Like, we were just, building software for clients for what they wanted. And so in 2018, November 2018, I was in Florida playing golf with my brother. He has an insurance agency. And at the time, he probably had 50 agents on his team. And as I had never, I don't, didn't know what a lead was at this time. Like I'd never been in marketing. I'm just, this engineer from Kentucky. And so he was explaining the model of an independent insurance agent and how they acquire leads and make sales. And everything he explained to me just sounded so outdated and inefficient. It sounded sketchy. I mean, historically, the lead gen industry is somewhat of a sketchy business. There's a lot of bad actors. And so after that conversation with him, I told him, I was like, man, let us help you. Like, we'll try to run ads. I don't know if it's going to work, but we'll run it at cost, see if we can make something happen. And so we started running ads for my brother and a few of his agents, Facebook ads, Google ads, driving consumers to landing pages for insurance. And about a month in, things were working. They were making sales. Their CPAs were really good. And all of a sudden, we had 100 agents knocking on our door because word of mouth was kind of spreading between his group and adjacent agencies within his organization. And so as we got all this demand, we're like, how do we scale this? We have all these are like small agents with small budgets, but in the grand scheme of things, this could potentially have legs as a legitimate business. And so that's when we came up with the idea of Leadrilla. There's 1.2 million licensed agents in the US. More than majority percentage of that are independent agents that work in the field that we could go out and serve, just like we were serving this small group in Florida. And so Leadrilla, the original idea was a self-serve platform that an agent could create an account in a couple minutes, put a credit card on file, and say they want, they launch what we call a campaign and say they want 20 leads in a 30-mile radius of Pensacola, Florida. And it's completely self-serve. They don't have to talk to us. They just go on there and, launch their campaign, and then they start getting leads. So on the back end, we automated the generation of those leads. So running the ads on Facebook, on Google, optimizing by agent performance, agent demand, geo coverage, time of day, and whatnot. And so once that was built, it launched in April 2019. We went live and it grew really fast. We started acquiring a lot of agents across the country, got to a couple thousand users by the end of 2019. And then, over the next few years, the platform just kind of grew and grew. So today, Leadrilla has over 20,000 insurance agents on it. And about 2 years ago, we started getting a lot of interest from large national insurance carriers, national FMOs, IMOs, which are basically insurance agencies. And they didn't want to send their agents to Leadrilla to buy leads and calls from us, but what they wanted was the software. And so over those 4 years, we had kind of become this platform that is the platform that services the smaller agents. And so what we started doing about 18 months ago in 2022 was licensing that platform to large brands. So national carriers across insurance, whether it's life insurance, health insurance, Medicare, even for home service brands. So national, solar companies, bathroom remodels, roofing, siding, a ton of subcategories in home services. And so now we have this enterprise SaaS platform that is a spinoff of Leadrilla, and that's called SalesRiver. So SalesRiver is our main company now. Leadrilla still runs, but SalesRiver is the main thing we focus now, and it's an enterprise SaaS platform for brands.
Regardless of the new interest that's peaked, why would you not just expand Leadrilla as opposed to build out a separate SalesRiver?
Yeah. So there's a few angles to answer that. I'll try to answer them all.
Obviously, a lot of it comes down to revenue. One could be outpacing the other for revenue as well.
Yeah, and that's one of the angles. So Leadrilla got to a point, once we were about 3 years in and had a pretty large user base, that business kind of became self-serving because everything was self-serve on the user side and how they interact with the platform. The back end was also pretty self-serving. So actually acquiring the leads, we didn't have to do much work. And so it got to a point where, we can launch new products and new verticals on Leadrilla and grow, but we still can go focus on something else and continue to grow that as well. So that's why Leadrilla still exists today. If you go to leadrilla.com, the other part of the answer is like, why shift all of our focus to something new, which is SalesRiver. And a lot of that just comes down to, as the whole business, like looking at enterprise value. And so the enterprise value of a SaaS company is much greater than a lead generation company. Gross margins on a lead gen company can be, anywhere from 20 to 40%, whereas a SaaS business is typically 90, 95%. And if we can go focus on the larger enterprise brands, sell them our software, help them run their business a lot better, there's opportunities to also plug in Leadrilla into their platform and maximize the opportunity from both sides.
Absolutely. Well, one of the things also, and I know we were dialoguing about this via email, was that you have what's called a first in its kind sales enablement platform. When you're trying to explain this now towards agents who didn't hear about you, how are you going about marketing that and explaining that one of a kind? Because one of the things that reminded me, this is not a knock against your old website or the new one or anything. This is something that all technology platforms struggle with. Is I go to someone's platform, unless I really know Koby well and know exactly what it is you do. Lord, if you went to HubSpot, you'd probably still be confused as to what they actually do. You know what I mean? It's so rare that it's actually clearly defined. And so when you try to explain that to the people that are buyers who haven't heard about you or don't understand because I think it's brilliant, the white label backend and where you can go with this. And again, just if it's known for its performance, but what do they have to know who you are to be able to understand what it is that you do and you sell? This is a good question for any technology entrepreneur out there, though.
It is. Yeah, it is. And it's actually something that we've struggled with. I mean, we just launched the SalesRiver brand February of 2023. And so, our platform does a lot. There's a ton of different value props. And so, we're in the process of figuring out what are we? How do we tell someone this in, less than 10 words? And that's a challenge. I think a lot of young software companies run into that challenge as well. And so, the approach we're taking, and, there's a lot of new marketing things we're doing over the coming, 3 to 6 months. We're trying to define what category we're in. If you think about Uber, when they came out and said we're the first ride sharing app, every consumer in the world was like, what the heck is ride sharing?
Right.
That sounds sketchy. I'm going to get murdered. I'm going to get kidnapped. And so that's a perfect example of someone that created their own category and they dominated it because they were the first ones. And so from a high level marketing perspective, that's kind of how we're thinking about it. We don't know the answer. I mean, we know our value adds a ton of value, solves a lot of pain points for our customers. But yeah, that's a challenge.
It's not an invitation for everybody to try to go sell him something. So don't pester him nonstop with, we can help you tell your story better emails, but it's a struggle for everybody. I remember in a conversation I've had multiple times, I think with Scott Brinker, who is the VP of platform integration or whatever at HubSpot. He's the guy it's known for the Martech 5000. And he's been on the show a couple times. I know we presented as well, but he was talking about looking now at all these technologies, and it's way beyond 5,000. It's in the tens of thousands now with companies like yours and the offshoot, the Leadrilla and the SalesRiver now count, as two different ones. But when you think of the thousands that multiply trying to go to all these different websites, and we also know that customers, regardless of what industry they're in, have to have decent explanation and understanding and context, and that it's a good thing that you're resolving it now before you really rock it with growth. It's just good that there are a lot of people like me and others that much better in the space who can obviously heavily recommend you and help it bridge that context, if you will.
Yeah, definitely.
So question, you mentioned this a couple of times, and I'm curious, what is the Kentucky technology scene like? It's not that anywhere other than the Northeast and Silicon Valley is known for its technology, but Kentucky is not normally what I think of as Silicon Valley, Middle America.
Yeah. No, definitely not historically. And I think you've seen this over the last 5 to 10 years throughout the US, these smaller pockets of cities throughout the Midwest, that have kind of come on to the startup map. And Lexington has been one of those. We're in Lexington, Kentucky, second largest city in Kentucky, and then Louisville is the largest. And so between Louisville and Lexington, we've definitely seen a lot of growth in the startup ecosystem. And there's really good support and groups in both cities that kind of help drive that and create community events. But yeah, I mean, over the last 5 to 10 years, there's definitely been growth. Lexington is a great place to live. Cost of living isn't too high. It's growing. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, it's growing for sure. It's not in Austin or not Silicon Valley.
Or San Jose, where even the CEO can't afford to live there.
Right, right.
What is today's struggle like for you? I say struggle, but what is the story now as an entrepreneur trying to raise funding? Because I know you successfully got some funding not that long ago to help grow this, but it is a different era even today than when it was when you started Leadrilla.
Yeah, it is. It's not the best time to raise money right now. And so we were self-funded for our first 4 years. And then last year, throughout 2022, we spent about 9 months raising. And ultimately in December, we closed a Series A round led by Mucker Capital out of Los Angeles. I would say the biggest challenge through all that, we spent 4 years with no outside money, pretty small team. We never got any larger than 12 or 13 employees, mostly in office. We had an incredible culture. I think we still have a great culture, but it's been a lot of work to keep that. And so after we raised, I think now we're at 23 full-time employees, and then a handful of part-time. And so, bringing in new leadership, bringing in just an influx of team, like nearly doubling the team size, making sure that you're still focusing on culture and that people are still happy is critical. And it takes a lot of work. As a small company with 12 employees, you're a pretty flat organization, and people have been there for a couple of years and they've been there since the early days. And when you start to introduce, managers, like executive team, mid-tier managers, that, people fall into new roles and they have new people that they report to, it shakes a lot of things up. And so that's been a challenge. I think we've done well with it. And I mean, there's a ton of answers to this. Like when you have an injection of capital, what changes? Like a lot changes. I mean, you're constantly pushing against time. So typically when you raise, roughly 24 months of runway, and you're burning money because you're investing in the business and trying to grow. And so there's so many factors that, play on a day-to-day basis that you have to stay on top of. You're always pushing to get new revenue. It's fun and exciting, but it's also stressful. I call it the startup roller coaster.
Yeah. You have how many employees now? Full-time, 23?
23.
So, and that includes you or not you?
That includes me. Yeah.
So I think it's fascinating you bring that up, because so many people so often focus every bit of what they do on market position.
Mm-hmm.
Yet, as somebody who's run a company, from my experience, and now I hear you say a lot of the same thing, it's worrying about the other 22 people and all the day-to-day things that happen in the world.
Yeah.
It's duct tape and chicken wire that you try to keep everything glued together, on top of creating a great product that you can go market and sell and beat the competition out of.
Yeah, exactly. And I think every startup goes through that phase for a while.
I don't care if they're $1 billion brand, they still have this issue.
Exactly.
They got to keep focused there.
Yeah. I've talked to other founders, and, we all have the same issues, right? Whether it's people issues or whatever it is. I always joke and say, a startup kind of at this stage where you have a live product, you have customers, users on it. The public facing view of the company is that this is awesome. Like everything works perfectly. But in the office, there's 20 people running around like chickens with their head cut off, like manually doing things and like fixing stuff, and it's chaos. That's
That's
real.
every company in the country.
Every company goes through that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Well, you talked about being the ripe old age of now hitting your third decade. One of the things I wanted to touch on was, this is really the new technology world when you think about it. You've entered the Kentucky Entrepreneur Hall of Fame at this ripe old age. But again, kudos to you. But when you think about that, what does that mean to you?
man, it's pretty cool. I got a call 3 months ago, um, from one of the guys that helps run it, and he told me about that. And this is kind of what I had to speak at that event last week on stage. So this is kind of what I talked about is, after that phone call, the call ended, and I was like, I was honored to get the award. It was just cool to get, but in the back of my head, like I had this feeling like this isn't really my award. Like I don't know, I almost felt guilty that it was like in my name and not in the company's name, because right now we have 23 employees. We've had people dedicate, your job is half your life, and we've had people dedicate half of their lives for 4 or 5 years that have gotten us to the point we are today. So this is their award. And one of the quotes I said on stage is that one of my favorite books is Good to Great by Jim Collins. And there's a quote. He says, if we get the right people on the bus and the right people in the right seats and the wrong people off the bus, then we can figure out how to take it someplace great. And I've just been fortunate, we all have here at SalesRiver, that we've had really good people that have helped drive our company over the last 5 years to get us where we are. So that was my take on it. I mean, the award went straight from, it never touched my house. It came straight to the office after the event. It's on display in the kitchen area. But yeah, it's pretty cool. It means a lot. And I think going back to, just like startup ecosystem in Kentucky, like things like that. The list of Hall of Famers that are in that it's an incredible list. If you go through it. So it's pretty cool to be a part of it.
Well, Koby, I ask this of everyone who appears on the show. You've heard me referred to at conferences as sharks. You're going to get to understand this question. What is your favorite kind of shark and why?
Well, I don't like any sharks. I'm from Kentucky, so like I only get my feet in the water when I go to the ocean.
Good Kentucky lakes.
Yeah, well, there probably are sharks in there. Probably, I know I don't know hardly anything about sharks, but maybe a bull shark. I just feel like bull sharks are, I don't know, like they're just fierce. Like they'll, if they want something, they're gonna go get it.
They've had bull sharks have been found as far north as Alton, Illinois, but I think they'd probably take the freeway over to Kentucky. A little bit of a drive in, but bull sharks are one of the few sharks that can live in freshwater as well. So just stay out of those lakes. So, all right. Well, Koby, it's that special time of the show. Are you ready for the 5 most interesting and important questions that you're going to be asked today?
I'm ready.
All right. So, as a Kentucky resident, and this is a good entrepreneur tie-in, fried chicken, Popeyes or KFC?
KFC.
Got to honor the motherland. Yeah.
Better breading. Like it's also Kentucky. I mean, Colonel Sanders is a legend.
And as an entrepreneur, I mean, you talk about his journey. He went to, I think it was like 95. He got 95 no's before he got one person to use his recipe to make the chicken. It was amazing.
Exactly.
All right. Well, you went to Eastern Kentucky.
Yep.
But if you were watching at home a game of the Louisville Cardinals versus the Kentucky Wildcats, who would you pick?
Louisville Cardinals all the way. They may not win any more than 4 games this year because they're pretty bad. But our office is actually our view. We're on Main Street. It looks at Rupp Arena, which is where Kentucky plays. So I always say I'm going to hang Louisville flags on Main Street outside our office when Louisville plays here. Haven't done it yet, but.
All right. So Hall of Fame question for you. Would you rather be a Hall of Fame athlete or a Hall of Fame technology award winner?
Technology award winner.
That's such a coder's response, because I would take whatever the money that came with the basketball, football, or baseball Hall of Fame.
I think if you win an award in business, a business related award, you're actually doing something and providing value to the world. I love sports. Like it's all like I leave here, I go home, I typically watch sports, but I think it's adding value to others in the world from the business side.
All right, number 4, and you are in an absolutely beautiful state. I've driven to Lexington and to Louisville many times. Would you rather spend time at the lake or in the mountains? Because you got great lakes and great mountains.
Yeah. I'd say in the mountains for sure.
Okay.
Yep.
Got to get a cabin. All right. Number 5, and the most important question that you're going to be asked today is biscuits or cornbread?
Biscuits all the way with gravy on it.
Good man. All right. So, Koby, where can people find out more about you, learn about SalesRiver, Leadrilla, see you speak, and more?
Yeah. SalesRiver.com, Leadrilla.com. You can also find me on LinkedIn, Koby Hastings. And yeah, as far in 2024, you'll find us at a handful of conferences, mostly in the insurance world, ICMG, Medicarians, a handful of others. And then you can find us at digital marketing conferences and whatnot. But check out our websites and reach out.
All right, Koby, thank you so much for being with us today on A Shark's Perspective.
All right. Thanks, Shark.
So there was my conversation with Koby Hastings, the founder and CEO of both SalesRiver and Leadrilla, and he's also a Kentucky Entrepreneur Hall of Fame awardee. Let's take a look at 3 key takeaways from my conversation with him. First, what I love about meeting, learning from, and working with various entrepreneurs like Koby is that they're always hungry. Koby builds one business. It becomes self-sustaining and performing well. But does he slow down and ride that out or keep growing in more directions? He keeps growing and building. That's a trait we all need more of. So keep growing. Second, this is one of the most confusing things for technology companies, agencies, and many, many brands. How do you tell someone what you're doing in less than 10 words? Koby brought up the differentiation of creating a category but then figuring it out along the way. Good reference to what ride sharing would have meant to us before Uber. You know that your product or service solves problems for your customers, but remember that clarity and simplicity are necessary for helping people understand what you do so that they can buy from you and buy faster. Third, never forget that market position isn't always the biggest concern. For companies big and small, peel back the many layers of any company anywhere. Well, there's the brochure and then there's the people. Small companies to big, keeping focus on your people is just as necessary as creating great technology improvements. A well-oiled and high-performing machine still needs great mechanics to service the engine to help you grow. Got a question? Send me an email to shark@kennethkinney.com. Thank you again for the privilege of your time, and I'm so thankful to everyone who listens. I'm always working on my own entrepreneurial journey. I just love the oceans more than the rivers and lakes. So let's dive in when you join us in the next episode of A Shark's Perspective.